Hello, nice to have you join us on the news at 5, live from Channels Television's global headquarters in Lagos, Nigeria. I'm Dominic Iwiwa, and these are the stories we're tracking at the moment. The federal government has filed a 13-count charge before the Federal High Court, Abuja, against alleged plotters of a coup to oust President Bola Tinubu. The defendants include retired Major General Mohammed Ghana, retired Naval Captain Erasmus Victor, Inspector Ahmed Ibrahim, Zekeri Umoru, Bukar Guni, and Abdulkadir Sani. Also listed in the charge, but said to be at large, is a former Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Timipriye Silva. The charge, filed on Monday by the Office of the Attorney General of the Federation and signed by the Director of Public Prosecutions, Rotimi Oyedepo-San, accuses the defendants of offences ranging from alleged treason and terrorism to failure to disclose security intelligence and money laundering linked to terrorism financing. The prosecution alleged that the defendants conspired in 2025 to levy war against the state to overpower the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, an offence punishable under Section 37, subsection 2 of the Criminal Code. The federal government further alleged that the defendants had prior knowledge of a planned treasonable act involving one Colonel Mohammed Alassane Maji and others, but failed to alert the authorities. They are also accused of failing to take preventive steps and did not use any reasonable endeavors to prevent the commission of the offense. Beyond treason, the defendants are facing terrorism-related charges of conspiracy under the Terrorism Prevention and Prohibition Act 2022, as they conspired with one another to commit an act of terrorism in the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Financially, several defendants were accused of handling funds linked to terrorism financing in violation of the Money Laundering Prevention and Prohibition Act 2022. Justice Darius Kobo of the Kaduna State High Court has adjourned the bail hearing of former Kaduna State Governor Nasir El-Rufai to first week of June 2026. The former governor is being arraigned on multiple charges bordering on alleged financial crime and abuse of office by the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, ICPC. Speaking after the court session, counsel to the former governor, Usman, kicked against the lingering adjournment of the bail hearing by one presiding judge as politically motivated. The former governor arrived at the court at about 9 a.m. in a convoy accompanied by ICPC officials and operatives of the Department of State Services. During the proceedings, supporters of the former governor gathered outside the courtroom while security agencies maintained order and restricted movement within the vicinity.
We are grateful to His Lordship for the learning that he has shown, but we respectfully disagree. So that's the end of it. There's not much more to say. Everything about Nasir El-Rufai's travails have always been political. This is merely the legal arm of it. We'll deal with what comes. They file papers, we reply. That's what the law requires us to do, and that's what the law says they should do. So their papers don't have politics written on top of their papers. They are legal papers. So we reply to them. That's all there is. There's nothing particularly difficult about that.
I'm not a lawyer, and I'm not pretending to be one. The offenses as per the penal code, the criminal code of justice in Nigeria are clear. There are certain offenses that are not bailable. There are certain offenses that are bailable. This gentleman has been a senior civil servant. He ran the Bureau for Public Enterprise. He was a minister in the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and then he was state governor. Yes, he is facing charges, but these charges are bailable, and I am of the opinion that it would have been good to grant him, the bail he requested.
Staying with legal issues now, a 3-member panel of the Court of Appeal, Abuja, has dismissed the appeal filed by Julius Abure challenging the leadership of the Labour Party. Justice Peter Lifu of the Federal High Court had on January 21 reaffirmed the earlier judgment of the Supreme Court that removed Mr. Abure as the national chairman of the Labour Party and directed the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, to recognize Senator Nenadi Usman as the legitimate leader of the party to the exclusion of all others. Dissatisfied with that decision, Mr. Abure approached the Court of Appeal, seeking to overturn the judgment of the lower court. However, in the lead judgment delivered by Justice Onyejojo Onyewumi, the appellate court affirmed the decision of the Federal High Court. The court further held that the Supreme Court had conclusively settled the leadership disputes within the Labour Party when it nullified the convention that purportedly returned Abure as national chairman. The appeal court also agreed with the trial court that it had the powers under Section 251 of the Constitution to compel a statutory federal government agency to perform its functions when it ordered the INEC to recognize Senator Nenadi Usman as the national chairman of the Labour Party. The appeal court also agreed with the trial court that the constitution of the caretaker committee of the Labour Party headed by Usman was a doctrine of necessity needed to provide leadership when there seemed to be a vacuum in the party. The court further held that the appeal was devoid of merit and constituted an abuse of court process. While dismissing the appeal, the appellate court consequently imposed a cost of 10 million naira against Mr. Abure for wasting judicial time on the matter that had already been conclusively determined. Now to security, Interpol has intercepts multiple murder suspects, Tajuddin Akombi, in a hotel in Cotonou, the Benin Republic. The suspect was declared wanted over alleged murder of Prince Ademola Akiloye and Sheriff Salami from Abure community in the Tiosa local government area. Speaking on the rearrest, the Assistant Inspector General of Police Zone 2 Command Olohundare Jimo explains that he has no personal interest in the case, but was only investigating on a petition sent to the police.
It's a brief handover ceremony of the multiple murder suspects at the zonal police headquarters in Ulikon, Lagos State. The suspect, Ahmed Akombi, was picked up by the Interpol Nigeria from the Interpol Benin Republic over the weekend.
His name had featured on Interpol watch list. So he was arrested from the hotel and kept for us to come and take over. Other people who are equally involved are being monitored. Once we arrest them, we'll hand over.
We ensure that investigation is concluded to its matter and is promptly arranged in court of competent jurisdiction with others at large.
On February 19, the fugitive was declared wanted by police after a confessional statement made by two other suspects who have been charged for murder. The suspect reportedly traveled round 4 countries before his arrest in Benin Republic.
If we know that he has nothing he has nothing connected him to the crime, why is he running across the world? And now that he has been arrested, he should make his statement and make himself available, and investigation will prove otherwise. But I want to assure Lagosians generally that we have a good case that can stand the test of trial against Ahmed Tajuddin Akombi, and will not leave any stone unturned to ensure that he's prosecuted.
The Assistant Inspector General of Police in charge of Lagos and Ogun State, Olohundare Jimo, explains that investigations are progressing on the murder suspect and his accomplices. The zonal boss also gives this warning.
Those who are trying to attempt to frustrate police investigation, both within and outside, are equally as culpable as this suspect. And we are going to find them out, and the law will catch us up with them. So if they like themselves, as at now, whether serving or retire of any services, should know that whether you have gotten land from this suspect is a bloodland, because you better go and surrender it.
The Interpol boss hands over items recovered from the suspect, including travel documents, mobile phones, and a luxury vehicle to the Assistant Inspector General of Police to aid ongoing investigations.
Staying in Lagos, the State Police Command has launched a sting operation across the 14 area commands in the state. The State Police Commissioner, Tijani Fatai, who commenced the operation in the early hours of today, personally interfaced with commuters along major routes. Speaking shortly after, Mr. Fatai explained that the exercise is born out of complaints from Lagos residents.
As early as Lagos workers set out, officers of the Lagos State Police Command, personally led by the Commissioner of Police Tijani Fatai, are also out. They hit the streets in a sting operation over complaints of early morning attacks and robbery of commuters who are heading to their place of work, among other crimes. He speaks directly to commuters.
Good morning, everybody. I hope you are comfortable with the vehicle and the driver. There have been a series of complaints about a form of kidnapping which some people takes to be one chance, popularly known as one chance in Lagos State. And that people are being kidnapped, taken to a particular destination, unknown destination, so to speak, where at the end of the day ransom will be demanded. The hoodlums are taking advantage of the public, who are much always in a hurry to get to where they are going. They know people will never want to go to the park most of the times to go and board their vehicles to their destination. They prefer taking vehicles who are coming along the road. But I'm very sure it will have sent a message, a strong message and a warning to those hoodlums that anytime at all they want to carry out this operation, police are there on the road to checkmate whatever they want to do.
The state police boss warns officers across the state not to water down the operation in any form.
Like me now, as the Commissioner of Police, I'm involved. Likewise, all other area commanders and all the area commands are involved in this operation. This is not for any purpose of extortion. And anybody, even after today, any of the officers that is seen extorting any members of the public should be reported. We have our complaint lines. The CRU is there. We have various forms of ways of reporting our officers. So if there's anybody that is caught in this extortionist move or drive, should be reported and action will be taken against them. But I mind you, I want to let the good people of Lagos know that this is not for any extortion. It's not even a roadblock. It's just a stop and search operation.
With this exercise, Lagos residents are promised of a more secured state, free from early morning criminal activities.
Governor Abdurrahman Abdulrazak of Kwara State has paid a visit to 6 soldiers recovering from injuries sustained during a recent counter-terrorism operation in Kayama, where security forces engaged insurgents in a fierce battle that left several terrorists neutralized. The encounter, however, claimed the lives of 3 soldiers who paid the ultimate price in service to the nation. During the visit, the governor reiterated the state government's commitment to supporting the military, announcing 20 million naira for each of the fallen soldiers' families and 5 million naira for each injured personnel. He praised the bravery and sacrifice of the troops, describing their service as invaluable. The Labour Party, under the leadership of Nenadi Usman, has released the composition of chairman and members of its electoral subcommittees for the forthcoming congresses across the states of the Federation, following the earlier announcement of the timetable for its congresses, with what congresses scheduled for Thursday, 23rd of April, local government congresses on Friday, 24th of April, and state congresses on Saturday, 25th April, 2026. In a message to the subcommittee chairman and members who are picked from across all states of the Federation, the national chairman of the party charged them to carry out their responsibilities with utmost fairness, transparency, and integrity. She reminded them of the party's core values of equal opportunity and social justice, urging them to reflect these principles in the discharge of their duties. You're watching the news at 5 on Channels Television. Right after this break, we'll go to Anambra State, where Governor Chukwuma Soludo is meeting with APGA stakeholders. We'll give you details when we come back. Welcome back. Anambra State's Governor, Professor Chukwuma Soludo, has announced that the era of transactional politics is over in the All Progressives Grand Alliance, APGA, insisting that now is the time to build a proper movement where loyalty matters and tickets are not for sale. The governor disclosed this during the APGA Southeast Zonal Stakeholders Meeting at the International Convention Center in Oka. Party leaders and stakeholders from the 5 Southeast states were present at the meeting, targeted at rebuilding the party for long-term stability and sustainability. The International Convention Center, Oka, is bustling with energy as Professor Chukwuma Soludo joins members of the All Progressives Grand Alliance, APGA, for the Southeast Zonal Stakeholders Meeting, an event being held for the first time in 2 decades. The venue is charged with excitement and a celebratory mood, as the governor, doubling as the party's state leader, extends a warm welcome and heartfelt congratulations to delegates representing all 5 Southeast states. Party officials believe this is a moment for frank talks and recommends massive enlightenment and funding as measures for the party's survival and expansion.
You are all welcome and indulge your food to relax. It's not going to be a very long meeting, but it's going to be exciting enough to teach us the basic indices and rudiments of staying together as one brother. A common future in the South.
A total of 11 guidelines are outlined by the national chairman in line with the provisions of the Electoral Act to serve as a framework for party registration, primaries and other political activities.
Everybody, every person who has an aspiration and who has the support of the people can aspire and get to any political office that person needs fit. And so, our watchword is transparency, fairness, equity, justice. It is very, very important.
For Governor Soludo, the era of monetary politics is over in APGA, and the focus is rebuilding the party.
The era of give tickets, nyam ticket, agenyonya, give unga, that era must now be over. And I will tell you, now while I stand here, we're not perfect in this. While I stand as the national chairman, as the national leader of this party, working with the national chairman and the national working committee, the state working committee, the zonal working committees, part of the reason what we must do is to build this party to last.
Meeting concluded with an interactive session to consolidate resolutions and discuss the way forward. Members expressed optimism that APGA remains committed to stability, fostering a culture where integrity and discipline, rooted in equity and justice, will discourage frequent defections. The Hydroelectric Power Producing Areas Development Commission is promising to sustain infrastructure development in its catchment areas and improve the livelihood of the people within the area. The Director of Engineering and Technical Services at the Commission, Professor Ipalaka Daniel, stated this at the flag-off of the distribution of 90 power tilling machines to farmers in Benue State. The beneficiaries were drawn from 24 cooperatives across 7 local government areas of the state.
Members of Farming Cooperative Society from 7 local government areas of Benue State converge on the State Office of the Hydroelectric Power Producing Areas Development Commission for the distribution of 90 power tilling machines. The Director of Engineering and Technical Services at the Commission is representing the Managing Director, Mr. Abubakar Yawa, at the event, and he explains that the distribution is part of efforts to empower livelihoods and increase productivity of farmers.
Benue State, rightly known as the food basket of the nation, holds immense agricultural potential. However, unlocking this potential requires deliberate investment in modern farming techniques and equipment. It is in recognition of this need that NHYPADEC has taken this important step to support our hardworking farmers through the provision of power tillers. This initiative is part of the Commission's broader mandate to improve the socio-economic well-being of communities within hydropower producing areas.
The Benue State government applauds the gesture, explaining that Governor Hyacinth Alia is also investing in mechanized agriculture.
You will understand that the NHYPADEC, what they have brought here is part of what His Excellency is doing for the state as one of his cardinal point agenda in this administration.
One after the other, Each of the benefiting cooperative receives 4 tillers.
You know, agro is our mainstay economic activity. So we're trying to see how we can contribute in our little way in mechanizing farming. By mechanizing farming, you naturally increase the propensity for the yield, the output.
The cooperatives are warned to use the machines for the purpose it was meant for among members.
President Bola Tinubu has approved a minor cabinet reshuffle in the membership of the Federal Executive Council. According to a memo signed by the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Senator George Akume, 2 cabinet members, Mr. Wale Edu and Mr. Ahmed Musa Dangiwa, are to leave the cabinet while their replacements have been named. Mr. Edu, until the latest development, was the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister for the Economy. He has been directed to hand over to Mr. Taiwo Yedele, who is now to take over as Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy. Mr. Yedele was formerly a Minister of State in the ministry. Also, Mr. Muktak Rabe Drama has been named as the ministerial nominee and minister-designate for the Housing and Urban Development Ministry. The memo also directed Mr. Dangiwa to hand over to the Minister of State in the ministry. The memo stated that all handing over and taking over processes should be completed on or before close of business on Thursday, 23rd April 2026. On business news, the UK's business delegation to Nigeria has completed its first trade and investment mission to the country, underscoring the strength of their bilateral partnership. This development follows the recent state visit of President Bola Tinubu to the country last month. A statement released by UK's Department for Business and Trade says the 2-day event brought together 43 delegates from 30 British companies to build partnerships, deepen commercial engagement, and pursue new opportunities across priority sectors with the Nigerian counterparts. The mission, in partnership with the Nigeria Investment Promotion Council (NIPC), focused on challenging outdated perceptions of Nigeria and discussed opportunities across key sectors such as infrastructure, energy, agriculture, finance, ICT, amongst others. Meanwhile, trade value between both countries currently stands at a record £8.1 billion, with Nigeria as the UK's largest export market in Nigeria. Nigeria imported about 61.7 million barrels of crude oil from the United States within a 2-year period, despite being a major oil producer. This is information which was released by the U.S. Energy Information Administration, which showed that crude exports from the United States to Nigeria surged between January 2024 and January 2026, marking a sharp reversal from nearly a decade of zero crude trade between the two nations. Meanwhile, analysts say Nigeria's reliance on crude imports may persist in the short term as the Dangote refinery concludes plans to import an additional 13.62 million barrels for its May operations to bridge the gap left by an expected federal supply of only 6.15 million barrels. For the first time in 7 years, pension returns in Nigeria are beginning to catch up with inflation. According to industry analysts, returns on pension investment currently stand at around 17%, while data from the National Bureau of Statistics shows headline inflation rose to 15.38% in March from 15.06% in February. The development marks a significant milestone for Nigeria's pension industry, which has struggled to deliver positive real returns amid persistent macroeconomic pressures. It also signals a potential turning point for contributors who have endured years of eroded real value in their retirement savings. And that's where we drop the anchor on this edition of News at 5. I'm Dominic Iwiwu. Up next is The World Today. Enjoy.